it is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Leah Nebenzahl, and your maiden name was Hirschman, and we're here in your beautiful apartment in Jerusalem. And Leah, wow, if you could tell us a little bit about your life story.
How I know you asked me about my name. I have here a picture. It looks like, I don't know, 3 months, between 3 and 6, I don't know actually. And this picture, my mother sent it to her mother, because when I was born, but they couldn't get together. They were, I was born in 1942. There are not a lot of children born except here in
which country?
In Poland. I was born in Opatów or Apt. But this is, for me, it's a very moving picture, because on the back, in Polish, it's a handwriting of my mother, and she sent it to her mother. It was, of course, translated to me for remembrance, for grandmother and grandfather, from you. Hold a moment. Granddaughter, and she signed as if in my name. So that's the only place that I know what name my parents gave me. It's Leah Hirschman.
Wow.
Because otherwise I won't know what was my real name. Later I had other names, Polish names, and so for me it's a very, very special picture. And
this is the original.
That's the original, and how I know my real names that the parents called me. Okay. Again. This is my mother. And this is my father.
And do you know the names of your parents?
I know the names. Her name was Pifa. I don't know what's the name. I tried to get information. What does this name mean? But until now I don't. I asked her sister, which she had a very big role to take me back to Judaism, and she said that was her name, Pifale. So that's what I know. And that's my father, Tzvi Hirschman, or Herschel Hirschman. They were something in the 20s at that time. I always, it looks to me amazing that at that times in Europe, what was that people married and had a baby.
And especially in Poland.
It's very in Poland, yeah. So it must have been something very special. So my father, he was, as far as I know, he was caught in an action that were there. I don't know what happened to my mother, but they must have a plan before what will happen if they be caught. although everybody told them, you know, the German propaganda that they are going to work somewhere, but they knew they couldn't take a baby with them. So they had a plan to hand me to a policeman that they knew before the war, and they gave him everything they had. It was a pretty old couple, they weren't young. She told my mother and father, keep her until we come back from the working camps, what they thought. And they went, I don't know, only 15 years ago I know what happened to my father. But I don't know, my mother must have been sent to Treblinka with her community. But he was with somebody that told me the story. Maybe it's also worthwhile to meet
Please,
him.
how did you hear the story?
15 years ago, somebody called me, an English-speaking guy, and he asked me if my father's name was Yechiel, and I told him no, it was Tzvi or Herschel Hirschman. And he told me that he came to Israel from the States to bury his father that passed away. Here is his cemetery for Eretz Chefetz, near Bet Shemesh. So he was looking for me, and he told me that his father and my father were somehow relatives. My a sister of my father, her name was Miriam, I have somewhere I think a picture, and his brother's father were married. So there is intermarriage, some connection. And they were together sent to a labor camp to work, the ammunition or something. And they and 5 others, I think they decided to try to flee from the concentration camp, from the labor camp that they were. And they succeeded. They went into the woods somehow, and the Germans, it was it was not good for the prestige. They decided to do something about it, and they said that if those people won't surrender, they were, I think, 5 or 7 guys. They'll kill of every one 10. So this communication came to them in the woods somehow, and I'm talking about his father and my father that were together, and they said, okay, what shall we do now? And they decided to go back, to surrender, because they said, although we know that Jews are tortured and burned and all that, we don't want to take the responsibilities that a Jew will die 1 hour before he had to, because of on our behalf, because we did something. And they decided to go back. And then my father, that what his father told him, stand up, and he told them, you know, we don't know what they'll do to us, the Germans. If somebody will came out alive from this thing, I want you to know that we left a small baby, and he told them the name of the policeman that my parents were handed, and please try to bring her back to Judaism. And they agreed, and they came back to the labor camp, and the Germans, they invited all the people from this labor camp, what you say in Hebrew, leman yishmeu ve'irau, to make that the people will see what happened to one who violates rules or something like that. And they put them in front of a squadron, you call it? Yeah. And between those were his father and my father. And somebody who passed there, who was a mixture, what they call Volksdeutsche. He was half Polish, half German, and he knew his father, that his name was Jacob Mauer. He knew his father before the war, this man, that I don't know his name. And he understood what's going on, and he wanted to save him. So he went to the commander of this ceremony and told him, I know this guy, he is an expert in something that we need very much. That he needs very much, we need very much, so bring him out of this. And that's how his father, Yaakov Mauer, was saved, and my father. So I tried to write a poem about it. It took me 1.5 years to absorb this information.
And Leah, you only heard this about 15 years ago?
Something like that, yeah. So that's how I know how my father finished his life. What happened, what this man told me, he's Dr. Hirschman. I'll tell you why he's called Hirschman also. So his father, after the war, he decided to keep the promise to look for me. He married, and what this man told me, Hirschman, that they came back to Poland from the how do you call those camps that they were DP camps, yeah. They came from Germany to Poland. They had an address where I am. So they came to the policeman, but he said she's not anymore with me. It's also a story. It's always story in story. And he sent them to the where I was adopted by a Polish couple. And what he said that a woman, they came to this place that I was, but a woman met them at the street, and she introduced herself as a KGB person, but that she's also Jewish. And she asked him, what are you doing here? You don't look that you belong to this place. So because she identified herself as Jewish, they told us a story that they come to take a child that was, and she said, don't come close to this place, to this house, because you won't go out of alive from this. And I suspect that it was after my aunt, my mother's sister, came to and she tried to kidnap me. It was before. So, but she promised them that after 3 months we'll meet on the border between, I don't know, Austria and or something in Poland, and I'll bring her to you. But I told him it never happened, because I know who took me. It was my mother's sister. So that he didn't know what. But at that occasion, his father, also for other reasons, changed his name from Jacob Mauer to Jacob Hirschman, like my father's name, and he wanted to pretend that he's the father.
Oh.
There is no DNA test and nobody can, but this lady told them, don't come close to this place, and then they went to the States. This man that told me the story, Dr. Hirschman, he is the son of Jacob Mauer or Hirschman. He told me that they saw me once here, but they are living until now, and he also, with the name Hirschman, which is my father's name from this story that they tried to. So,
Leah, can I just say something? And I'm going to ask you, when you heard the story about what your father did, because a lot of people wouldn't have done that. They would have said he knew that he would be killed if he goes back. But he didn't want others to die on because of his action.
I tried to...
It's very commendable. It's incredible.
I'm telling you, I wrote...
You must have been very proud.
I wrote a poem, and I incorporate it to my story somehow when I go to and present it. And I say, those people, the 7 or 5, I don't know, that they went back, it's Kiddush Hashem.
It really is. It's the highest.
Right. I call it
the most holy thing you could have done.
I call it Kiddush Hashem. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You must have been so proud of your father. It's
that's the only thing I know about him.
Sure.
And that's what I try to in this poem. That's the only thing, but that is Olam Umlo'o, the whole world. And it's really, I see it as a Kiddush Hashem. Yeah. So what happened to me when my parents decided to hand me to this policeman, my mother left also, I don't know what possessions she gave, what she had, but she left for me also a letter. And later my aunt, when she came, she saw this letter, and he wanted a lot of money for it that she didn't have, because she herself was in Auschwitz. Okay, it's a story in story. And it was lost, I don't know, never, but I tried in one of my poems to write 5 versions, what could be written there. So what happened, I was with them, I don't know how long, not a long time, because the wife of this policeman, she told him to get rid of me because I endanger them, which is reasonable. How an old couple has a baby, she was afraid. So he took me one day he wrapped me in a small cushion or something like that, and he put me on the railroad. And he ran to confess to the priest, and the priest told him, go and bring her to me. There must be close distances, and he brought me to him, and he handed me to it was I think monastery that were run by nuns of children, babies who lost their parents. It could be Jewish and in the war, and I was there until the age of 9 months. And then people from the areas that came to adopt children, that they didn't have children, so they wanted to adopt. And this policeman, he testified after the war. So he told that he said that he told them not to take me because he knows for sure that I'm Jewish, and that they won't have problems after the war. Somebody will come, and they said, as long as we can baptize her, it doesn't matter. And I stayed with those people, which I have also where was it? By the way, this is a picture, I suppose, my mother and me, because I don't, there's nothing written, so, but it looks like...
It looks like your mother, yeah?
Huh?
It does look like your mother,
yeah. And this is the couple that adopted me. I think I'm here between 2 or 3 or something, the age.
And do you know their names?
Of them? Sure, I know.
What were their names?
Maria and Stanislav Jopovich.
And was it in the same town that you were born?
No, it was close. It was in Skaržisko, Kamienna. There was, I heard also there was a ammunition factory or something like that. That they sent me later, so it's in Polish. And that's how they look much later, this couple, and it's their sister that she has had also a role in my...
This is wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you have recollections being with them?
A little bit here and there. But I think I was raised. They were Catholic. I was, and my name was Basia Kristina Jopovich. Before I say I had many names. But it's small recollection. But I was raised, I think, in an anti-Semitic environment. Those stories that I think maybe, I don't know if only in the villages they believe, in that for me, a Jew, that I never saw Jews around, but Jews and gypsies, there were, two that you have to keep, and told me, how do you be a Jew? That you take a brick and you rub your back and until blood comes, and that how I suspect that those stories about Jews started when Jews, I didn't know, began to have interest in me after the war. So maybe I saw later, I am an historian, and when I learned history in high school, you see the caricatures of Middle Ages, how Jews are presented. So that was my picture with Jews, although I never saw Jews in my environment. So after the war, I want to incorporate a story about my mother's sister, Mrs. Esther Eisenberg, who she was, I think my mother was the youngest from a lot of children, and she was one of the eldest. At that time of the war, she was married, she was in Lodz, and she had 7 children. 5 of them were killed, and her husband also were killed in the ghetto. And she was, one of her sons was in Buchenwald, but she was with one of her daughters, Tzipora, during all the war, and then they were sent to Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, they were in the turn of to go to the showers, which we know what it was. They didn't, and there was when they were in the waiting for the showers, one couple, she came and asked the manager of this production to take out 500 women for building a road somewhere. And my aunt, Mrs. Esther Eisenberg, and her daughter were between the 500 women that were taken away to build a road, so they were saved from the chambers. Finally, they were released in Bergen-Belsen after the war. And my aunt, they started to write lists about who survived, and there was one secretary she was also a survivor, and my aunt came to the office to tell her where she had relatives, and she said here and here, and she also mentioned where my mother was. And this lady looks at her and says, wow, I'm from the same town, and I knew your sister, and do you know that they have a baby and left with a policeman? It was known somehow. And my aunt said, I heard that she married about my mother, but I didn't know there was a child. it's important to understand. Now we have the communication immediately, and then.
But it was during the war.
Yeah,
they got married during the war, which is
right. I didn't know, and it was known that I was handed to a policeman, so she gave her address, this lady, and my aunt, she found another sister, Bluma, which immigrated later to Canada. She was in Canada. She was much closer in age to my mother. She married after the war because her fiancé didn't survive. And she left her daughter also in Germany, and she went back to look for me in Poland to the address that she got. And she found, there were already organizations that helped to take out children from monasteries, from families. She met her nephew from her husband's side, Pinchas Eisenberg, who was also very involved in he was injured in Kielce, which was a pogrom also.
It happened after the war.
Yeah, but he helped her. And also there were Jewish comics, like I was later, Captain Drucker, I don't know if you... No, Captain Drucker, he was in the Polish police. He was a Jew, of course, but he was he was in Russia. And after the war, he was one of the people who also committed himself to rescue children from places that they were. So he was also involved. So she came to the policeman with the help of a Jewish agency, and he said, it's true, she was here, she was with me, but now, and he gave them the address of the family, Yopovich, that I was with them. So they tried to communicate with them, no way. So they decided to kidnap me. And everything was said. I had a place in a military hospital with a nurse, that nobody will think that a child is hidden in a military hospital. And here starts my memory. And so one day I woke up, and I had this like a baby's bed, with the racks, and I see many people are in the room, and I see a woman that I didn't like her from the first moment. She said to my Polish mother, if you don't want to give me her clothes, because I was sleeping, I was in pajamas, and she took out her coat, a green coat, and spread it on the table and said, okay, I wrap her with my coat and I'll take her. And she came to my bed, and I stood up, and I was holding the bed, and I didn't understand what's going on, and she tried to lift me. And I was screaming, Mommy, Daddy, don't give. I didn't know what's going on, and I had, I don't know, so much strength in my hands that she tried to lift me, and the whole bed was lifted. And for me, as if a miracle happened, Suddenly she left me and went out. What really happened, there was a spread rumor in this village that a Jewish woman came to kidnap a Christian child. So, with all the connotation, and people started to surround this house, and the people who were waiting for her in the car that came with her, they thought they'll take me in the car and just flee. They saw the crowds together, and one of them went in the house and he said, "Come, we want to get out alive from here. It will be a lynch, so leave, we can do it." And she left, and there was a pogrom, and it was a big, and I didn't know, nobody explained to me what's going on. I remember I just became a very frightened child and very uncertain what's going on, but those days nobody explained children what's going on.
And is this one of your very first recollections?
Pardon?
Is this one of your very first recollections?
Yeah. I didn't feel the war. I don't remember. This was, I think, my trauma from the whole situation. So they saw that it's not the way to do it, and finally they turned to a court. At the beginning, the families, they didn't want to hear anything about it, and they say they prefer to bury me than to give me back to the Jews.
They'd rather bury you than give you back to the Jews.
Yeah. So there were one court and another court, and the main witness, and I say it was, I can see my story, the hashgacha, providence.
It's min hashamayim.
Min hashamayim, how things were in order to. So this policeman that my parents handed me, he was the only one who could testify that I am the child that I was given by my parents, and now my mother's sister came and she wants. So if not he, you couldn't prove it. And my aunt said that they brought him to court. He was ill, he was in a wheelchair, and 3 months after this testimony, he passed away. So I say, really, it's hashgacha.
Without his testimony.
No, right. Nobody could. So finally, when they saw that the trial is not in their behalf, they had some. They said, okay, we will hand one in 3. I think somebody found it for me in Polish, maybe 20 years ago or something, the documentation about the Father Yepovich that were negotiate with the committee of the Jewish department. He asked them either $100, it's 90.47.
It's a lot of money.
Or a visa to the States for the couples that my aunt will give them, or the possessions that my family has. My aunt didn't know nothing, so it wasn't relevant. For me, I had a poem about it, that I was very expensive to somebody. Or in Hebrew you say yekara.
Very dear.
Very dear, but dear with
money.
with money. Yeah. So finally the court decided that I'll go to the guardian of my aunt, and she'll be... Okay, how did they do it? Nobody prepared me for that. Nobody explained. This Maria, she had a sister, which is her sister in Krakow. She lived in a big... She had a husband, her name was Julia, and husband Stefan. They didn't have children either. So they told me, my Polish parents, that we are going to visit in Krakow her sister. Okay, so we went, we were in Krakow, and after 1 or 2 days, came in 2 or 3 guys that they were introduced to me as friends of my uncle Stefan. Okay, after a while we make friends somehow. They talk to me, and one of them told me, "You see," it was a big house. "You see, downstairs there is a cab, I remember it was black, very... do you want to come with us to make a tour in Krakow, to see the parks, to see the buildings?" And I was a curious child, but I wanted very much to go into this car because I never rode in a car. At least, I came with a village. It was a horse, but not a car. I was very curious. And I looked at the Polish mother, and she made something like that. But I knew they were the friends of my uncle, and he's coming with us. So I went into this car with these 3 guys and my uncle. And okay, that was my way back. What happened, we were traveling, it was nice, and in one place the uncle, Stefan, he told me, "You see this building, it's my office. I want to get out to take some papers from there. You continue the ride, and I'll join you and we go home." I was a little bit afraid to stay with people that I don't know, but okay, as I say always, at that times, when a grown-up tells a child to, he doesn't confront, or doesn't, he gets what he was told. So I stayed with this, and he went, and we started to drive again, and in my childish conception, I saw that there is no more building and houses. They disappeared. So now I understand they went on a highway that usually there is no building. I didn't know. So I asked him, I dared to ask him, where are you going? Where are the houses? So he said, no, we just make a turn, and they made a turn 360 degrees and continue on the highway. And then I started to cry, but nothing helped. We came to a different town, which called Zabrze. And there, what I remember, it was a very big building, and many children, people, and from my age until I don't know what they were there. I thought everybody is here Polish, Christian. Also the friends of my uncle, which were not friends, they were from the Jewish community that came to take me. And I was there.
How old were you at this time?
How old? Around 5. That's, I think, this is okay. Maybe I have the original.
Yeah.
No, this is still with the Polish people.
In this picture.
But this is the origin, I think. And
this is when you were still with the Polish family.
Yeah, because the doll.
You looked a happy child, very content.
Also.
And they were
here,
good to you. They were.
I think, also here I look very take care of.
Yeah.
But here and I think here you see the sorrow of the world.
Do see.
Wow. I remember that my aunt, she brought me this. Here I am when they took me to this orphanage. You see,
you can see in your eyes,
in the eyes.
That they allowed these men to come into the car, and that your so-called uncle said he's going to get the papers. So he really did help. He knew what was happening.
This policeman?
Yeah. No, when you were in the car.
No, it was
arranged.
Everything was arranged. The thing is that I couldn't understand.
Why didn't they tell you? Why didn't they?
Because
maybe you were too young. Maybe.
I think it wasn't like today. If a child is adopted, they tell him almost right away. Then it was a very different, I don't know, culture, atmosphere. Nobody thought that to involve children. But I couldn't understand the reasoning of the grown up. How do they behave? I'll tell you a story, which there are so many stories in stories. When I was in Zabrze with this, I have also pictures from there. Okay. Let's see now, where is just a moment.
were you around 5 years old at this time?
Yeah. I'm looking for the picture of these groups that I was in Zabrze in the kindergarten.
Could it be from this?
Yeah, this one. Here I have. It's not.
And you in the middle. You at the bottom.
Yeah, it wasn't so good, but.
And are all these children Jewish children?
Jewish children that were. Here's also my aunt.
Where's your aunt?
This. And
your aunt is.
Yeah, it's.
And when you first saw your aunt.
Whom?
When you first met your aunt.
Okay.
There must have been a very special encounter.
She didn't come close to this building that we were in Zabrze. It was Rav Kahane and Captain Drucker, and they were raising the whole thing. And she didn't come close. I thought all of them are Christians, and they were very smart not to detach us from what we were used. They let us pray like in the church, but gradually they put in new elements, customs, like now I know it was Friday evening. They lit candles, they made kiddush, they went. We lived in both Christianity and Judaism without knowing it. I have also a poem about this place, and they were very smart. But one day, I suppose it was a holiday or something, Jewish holiday, we went to a special room, and we had they gave us goodies, and I saw in the garderobe this Me'il.
It's like a jacket.
This jacket that the green jacket that she spread and wanted to wrap me into, and I saw it hanging.
And it was this, you remember that same?
I remember it. So I ran away and I went to my small room, and all the small chairs and tables I put so that I want to meet this woman that this jacket belongs to her. And okay, she started to appear. And she tried to get close to me, and I didn't want anything from her. She tried to buy me things or nothing. I remember this clothes she bought for me, and there is also a picture. I don't know where it is.
Are you wearing it? In this picture, I think it's the same dress.
Yeah, it's the same dress. She tried to. I remember this. They wanted to photograph me, and she wanted to make, and I refused, but at the last moment she came and put her hands on me. So I remember this picture, and this was this was a teacher in my group of children. I don't know. The man that Dr. Hirschman, he had the same picture, so that I know that the story is true. But finally, I made an agreement with her that if she wants to buy me something, candies, and we didn't get chocolate candies during the war. It was something not so, it was very special. So I told her, okay, it was always with a mediator. I didn't talk to her straight. She can buy for all the group of us, and then I'll also take. And she was sometimes going with a bunch of children and to buy them. And she said, she told me later something, I don't remember it, but I could believe, I could say something like that. She told me that one of the boys told me, wow, you have such a good aunt, she buys you what you want, or something like that. And my aunt told me that I replied him, you don't have pity on her, she's Jewish, and Jews have money and they can buy.
Wow.
I don't remember, but it could suit my education that I got. Okay, this institution, somehow, we are talking 1947, they were waiting for getting a certificate to come to Israel, because the British were ruling here, and it went. And I remember in one of my poems, I write about this place, Zabrze, with a children's home, that we were frozen children, but they told us that they'll bring us to a place, to a country that when the sun lights on it, the earth grows apples of gold, tapuchei zahav, and I believed it's gold. And they really tried to but my aunt, she decided not to wait. She was afraid. Okay, she left also a sister in Germany, in München, and a daughter that meanwhile she went to Israel and she was caught and sent to Cyprus. But she was afraid that the Russian will block the borders, which happened later, and she won't be able to go out. So she decided not to wait for the certificate with the whole children's home, and to try to go to Germany, and from then see, cooperate with her sister, and then see what to do. So also without any preparation or explaining for me, one night she took me, it's like that, because I wanted to run away from her all the time. And what I remember, it was a man with rubber until here, and I was the only child. There were 5 or 6 people grown up, and he took us, in his back, and we crossed a river. It was to Czechoslovakia. And then, okay, the bricha and the help to smuggle, you know. So finally we came to Germany, to München. So I remember my aunt knocked on her sister's door, and she opened and she told her, "Take her, I can't anymore." And she was right. I really, you know, she lost her husband, children, being in Auschwitz and having such a difficult and stubborn child to go with. I can understand, but I really was.
And did you know that she was your aunt at this time?
They told me. Okay, you know, I'm asked this question many times. How did you transfer from Christianity to Judaism? I say it's not a question, because a child who is dependent in all aspects who gives him food, who gives him shelter, so it's not about Christianity or Judaism. A child, whoever takes care of him or give him food, give him. It's not ideology. It's that's how children, you know. So my aunt from the other aunt, there was at that time not a possibility to stay in Germany. So one aunt, she said they are going. She had two twins. They are going to Canada. And my aunt Esther, she said, I didn't go over all those obstacles and difficulties in order to take her another country of Goyim, and not, we go to Eretz Israel. So she brought me, it was April 1949. That we came to Israel.
And where did you stay till you came?
Until in Germany with the other aunt. We were with her a few months, and then we came to, she went to Canada and we came to, here you mean?
No, when you were in Germany, you were in Munich?
Yeah.
And what did you do in Munich? Did you...
I don't remember. Anyway, she had the other aunt Bluma, she had twins, and it was a family. It wasn't.
And was she nice to you? Did you develop a close connection with your aunt?
With my with Aunt Esther?
Yeah. Or with Bluma?
More with Bluma, because she was younger. She wasn't involved in all those what I went through. She has a family. It was. I think I wrote also a poem about my Aunt Esther. I gave her a very hard time. We never had, I think, close communications, because she was like an iron lady. And I think after what she went through, and I think if she wouldn't be like that, she couldn't took me out.
Yeah. And maybe she wouldn't have survived either.
Yeah, she couldn't. But when she was buried, I sat in front of her children, the grandchildren, and my children that I had. What Rabbi Akiva said about his wife to his pupils.
Wow, sure.
I say, I owe her my Jewish life, and I told them, Sheli v'shelachem shelahu. That's what Rabbi Akiva said. And that's what I feel. I feel deep, deep appreciation what she did, how she did. But I don't think we had close relationship because I needed something very
gentle and soft.
And gentle.
And Bloomer,
she was more, but we were.
And how old were the twins?
When I have where's the picture? I have a picture of the twins in Germany. I think that's here. This is in Germany with the twins.
Okay. And you stayed all in the same apartment, the same.
Yeah, they stayed. That's what I remember. And
did you go to school in?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. I remember something if I went to school or kindergarten, because I have a document, but it's from Poland. It's interesting. Because I remember one thing but I think it was in Poland, not in Germany. I don't have a recollection. That it was from the kinder house that I told you before in Zabrze, that we went to people, kids from this house.
These other kids?
Yeah, and always we had to be last in the row. And I didn't understand why. Why are we always the last? So I think it was even after the war, Okay.
And when did Bloomer go to Canada? Was it?
I think also 1949 or 50, something like that.
So all this time you were together with...
Yeah. We were together living, and then she took me and brought me to Israel.
That's remarkable. And she came here as well? She came to live here as well?
Who?
Your aunt came with you, and she...
Yeah. This was my family. She and her daughter that married afterwards.
And how old was her daughter?
Her daughter, I think when I came, I was quite 7. She must have been 19 or 20, something.
And she was, you had a good connection with her?
She was like, more like my mother. Yeah. It was my aunt. She came from a different world. She never she didn't speak Hebrew. She didn't. Okay, what she went through before me and with me, it's just to admire this woman. I really think my Jewish life I owe to her.
Wow.
I'm so grateful. And then how I looked when in Israel.
And you look happy.
Yeah. In comparison to this last picture, so here I was between children, and when her daughter married, I was 9, and then I went to youth aliyah. I didn't stay with her.
So when you came to Israel, you stayed with her in the beginning?
2 years.
And where did you stay?
Okay, first we came to Netanya, which they put us tents, and have to remember that Israel, a young country, they had to bring here 500,000 refugees.
Yeah.
And I remember, I even keep somewhere, we had, do you say tlushim?
It was like coupons, or
Yeah, coupons for buying bread, for buying...
there was austerity, there was no food.
But those years, okay, for children, we were from many places, and then we went to Jaffa, Jubilee. They took a garage and they divided it with blocks, and everybody had a small room or something like that. But I remember there was something so special that we have a country. I didn't understand even what it means, but the atmosphere was around. A lot of happiness and appreciation that we have the country. And I think we children somehow absorb it. The atmosphere, even if we were poor and we didn't have, but it was...
If you look at this picture, you really are happy.
Yeah.
You look smiling and...
Yeah. So at the beginning, I think I told you, or I intended to tell you that I wasn't so interested in all the stories about Holocaust, and I didn't have, and it's one of my poems, I didn't have roots. I didn't know my parents. I didn't have to whom to relate, to connect.
Can I just ask you, with your aunt, did she speak, or did you ask her about your mother or her memories of... Did she speak about your parents? Or?
I think at that time I didn't ask because I didn't know who they are and what and why, and it was a fact that I'm without parents, and I think children, I thank God that I was so young, because children that were, and they remember the parents and the departure, and then maybe they...
It's a trauma, it's a bigger trauma.
It's a bigger trauma. I don't know, I was so young that I didn't have memories. I write in one of my poems, I think that it's translated here, that I stay in a synagogue, and a woman or elder will say, Isko, that is, and I'm thinking, to whom can I relate? Who is that? But my fingers hold the siddur, and they start like a branch to the root. So I really didn't have to whom to relate. I wanted to be a normal child, like everybody here, and there were also so many children from Europe, but they came also from Tunis and Morocco and all kinds. We were together. They came many times without their parents. They were sending them. Mm-hmm. So we were all, and I think there is some, children have some vitality to grow, to be happy. They are looking, so I didn't feel miserable or something. And I also put the whole story aside. It wasn't such to be proud to come from the Holocaust, at the first years here. Why didn't you stand up? Why didn't you? Many things. So it wasn't a privilege to, or an honor to belong to, and I didn't feel to belong to for me.
Did you ever talk about your experiences with your friends, or when you were growing
Everybody
up?
had a story. I don't know. It wasn't so. Everybody has a story. Had a story at that time. There was immigration from many places, and what I always say when I'm presenting this, that when I grow up more, and I understood that you can't detach yourself from a part of the history of your life, the question was for me, and it is until now, what's the meaning? What does God, why did he rescue me in such a miraculous way? And what is he expecting from me to do? And this question, what's the meaning of my life? What do I have to do to? So that escorts me all my life. And one maybe turning the darkness to light and bitter to sweet. When I saw, this is a motto from the Zohar, and it says, who can't do it can't come to learn in the yeshiva of the Messiah. So it caught me, this.
It's beautiful, turning darkness to light and bitter to sweet.
Yeah. Because I see, okay, I have, we have 5 children. My husband passed away, and I was very occupied with him. He was with MS many years, and our youngest son got at 11 months encephalitis, and okay, he was affected. He is brilliant in some aspects and very handicapped in others. So I was very occupied with both of them, and it gave some meaning. Maybe I was chosen to, I don't know that what I, but through this child, Eitan, I learned also that things happen to us. Some of them good, some of them look bad. We can't avoid it, we can't change it, it happens. God sent it to us. But what to do out of this, it's our responsibility and our choice. So we decided as a family, to take the challenge and be happy and try to turn
Darkness to light.
Darkness to light and bitter to sweet. And that's how I try to live. Because that's our responsibility. And I still am with the questions, what why I survived and what God wants to me, and maybe it will be the question until the last day. Maybe I'll get an answer, and maybe the answers are, step by step and not something big. I don't know, but I'm so thankful and so happy to be in Israel and to live as a Jew, and looking for the mission still.
Normally I always ask a message, but this is the most beautiful message that you've given, to turn darkness to light and bitter to sweet, and what you've done with your life.
That's what I try.
Did you keep any contact with the Polish family?
With the Polish?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning, I had something also to her, to the mother, that when I was in the Kinder's house, after I saw her once on the street. It was a different town, so I was, and I told to my teacher, here is my mother. And she got afraid because she thought maybe they're trying to kidnap me again, back or something. So she went to her and she asked her, do you know this girl? And she said no. So how can a child feel that her mother says she doesn't know her? So I was quite angry. And then she went back to the teacher. She came and she told the people there that this lady is here. So they decided to invite her officially to the office, and she can meet me. And she came, okay, but I couldn't understand how she said she doesn't know me. And this teacher, she told me, okay, she'll come to visit you in the office, but after a while, because it's noontime and you are going to rest, you can say that you are tired and you want to rest. Okay? So she came, this Maria. We were in the office, I don't know, maybe the teacher was and somebody else. And she was speaking to me, but I was very annoyed. How come she said she doesn't know me on the street?
Did you overhear her? How do you know that she said she didn't know you?
No, I heard.
You heard?
Yeah, she came with me and she pointed on me. The teacher said, do you know this girl? And she
you
said,
were with
no.
the teacher?
We were walking. So after a while, this teacher, she made me a hint to say what she wanted me to say, that I'm tired, I want to rest, and I say it. And this teacher tells me, it's not nice. Somebody came to visit you and you say you are tired. I lost confidence in growing up. I didn't know how they think, what they do. When I was in a kibbutz, in Chafetz Chaim, there was a lady who knew Polish, and she heard my story, I don't know how, and she asked me if I want her that will write a letter. So, a child of 5 remembers the address, and I remembered. And she wrote a letter, and they started a correspondence with me. There are letters. from them in Polish that I don't know.
This is from Polish one. And these are the letters. Wow. Can I open it?
What?
Can I open?
Yeah. It's Polish, I don't know. There's one English that her sister wrote. Which is the English.
Here's one in English.
What? Ah, that's her sister, Julia Ivanek. That's her sister that she wrote. But here you have. Yeah, that her sister wrote. So we were writing in a Maria Jokovic, you see, right?
And were they very positive, the letters? They were.
They write the contents of their letters is that they have a daughter in a far country that they couldn't see, they couldn't visit, but I am their daughter. That's how they wrote. And I remember after the 6-day war, I bought a postcard from Bethlehem. I thought it will be for them very excitement. And I didn't write anything, no politics. I just wrote that my second daughter was born and we are fine. What can you write on a postcard? And I never got an answer. And that was the time that the all Soviet break the relationship with Israel. So I thought maybe I do them harm. I didn't continue, and I didn't get any.
So there was the last correspondence.
And then when Jewish, when kids that they were. Going visit Poland in the delegations in Yom HaShoah, and so I asked somebody to see what happened to them, and then I got that they passed away.
And can I just ask, with the group, are you in touch with any of these children from?
It's interesting. I'm not in touch. But I don't remember what year. By the way, here is a picture with the man who is Captain Drucker in Zabrze. He was in Bat Yam. He got an award there, and he asked me to come. I don't know why he told my story. And then we made a picture.
Did you ever ask your Polish mother why she said she wasn't your mother?
No.
It's too difficult to.
I think I was also angry about her, and then I didn't. I don't know if she. But you asked me about. I don't remember when. They were gathering here in Yad Vashem, children from that. I don't know them. Here I am.
Where are you in the picture?
Here. what's...
And this could be, there could have been...
I don't know. You see, it's more, it was my original group. It's here they gathered, but all of them went through this kinder. But this lady, I met her, we were this lady, I met her in the States, in Cornell University. My husband was postdoctorate and her husband too, and we were an Israeli community. We didn't know anything until we met here.
You know, you didn't...
I knew her, we were friends.
But you never spoke about...
No, never spoke. So she said, "What are you doing here?" And I asked her, "What are you doing here?"
That's amazing.
So, but
that's incredible.
She was in different years, I think, than me there. So it's really...
And did you speak to your children about your experiences?
When they were young, I didn't talk to them about, because you also don't want to traumatize, or I don't know how you do it. But when my eldest daughter, she was 5 years old, I understood that she thinks, because I called my husband, father and mother, Ima and Abba, that now they call by name, but then Ima and Abba. So I understood that she thinks that they are my husband's parents and also my parents. Why not? I called them Ima and Abba. When I understood that, and you know, here in kindergarten there is Yom HaShoah and Yom HaZikaron, so children, they know about it a little bit. So I told her that I had also a father and mother, and they were Bashoah, like they know that the Germans did, and that's how I start. But I never put it on them when they were asking questions or something. My son, he made in the university, he had to write a paper, something about the Holocaust, and then he decided to interview me. And also then he interviewed also his sisters, how they, so it was from then on we are more talking about that. There is there, I'll show you a picture. It's two pictures that my aunt, she took, it's not the original, but she took and combined two, and when she passed away I got it. That's my parents. You know,
it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, so
Wow.
so it's always here, and they know, and now the grandchildren know, and so...
It's beautiful. Now, can I ask you a big favor? Could you just read this one poem, or a little bit of anyone? Because it would be so...
in Hebrew,
or in English?
In English, I don't know about this translation, how you can see how it's good. That's my mother and her cousin. Now, how I got these pictures,
It's also amazing that you have all the pictures, that these pictures survived. In itself is unbelievable.
You know this Aunt Bloomer in Canada. She passed away, but few years ago, from time to time I was talking to her, and I asked her, maybe you know where from are those pictures?
Survived. How
Yeah.
they...
And she told me, you don't know the story? I said, no. And she told me that she, all her brothers and sisters were scattered and married, and she was engaged to one at the same town, place where they were, and so she stayed with her mother and father, which were elderly people. And her fiancé, he stayed also with his parents. And she found out that they are looking for women for sewing. So she came to her parents, and whoever was needed, it was like he could live. So she told her mother that they are looking for girls to sew uniforms, I don't know what should she do. So her mother, my grandmother told her, go and rescue yourself. If you are needed, go, and who will be with you? So she spoke also with her fiancé, and he told her, I'll take care of my parents and your parents, and go rescue yourself. So she said before she went, she took pictures and she sewed it in her clothes, and those are pictures of my parents, of me, and that my mother sent it to her mother, so it was in the house. And she survived with the pictures, it was somehow in her clothes, and that's how I have the pictures.
The pictures of your parents and you. I mean, it's
yeah, right.
It's only me. There's no cover. There's no.
Right. Nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
It's miraculous. It really
right.
is.
The whole story.
The whole story is. It's one miracle after another.
Right. I say hashgacha.
Or any poem. Just,
But I
or any. It doesn't matter. It's all good.
I don't think I stand behind the translation
No,
of
it's
the poems.
Leah, it's very good.
Now it's in, also translated in Polish. Someone wrote. I even don't know. I never wrote them in. I'd rather. Scenario. What are the conditions for opening a package wrapped in muslin on train tracks in a basket? Only the name in ornate letters is that which gives validity to her existence. What are the conditions for opening this package wrapped in muslin, around which cluster villages crossing themselves, for at this time even baby is name for fear? What are the conditions for the continuity with no sister among the reeds, and only a Polish policeman standing by to see what will be done to her? To bring her to the monastery gate. What are the conditions for continuity for a Jewish baby drawn out of the blood and baptized into Christianity? What are the conditions for the continuity for a small girl in the picture, a white ribbon in her hair planted, between a man and woman like angels, to her right and to her left, who gave them perhaps temporary happiness of belonging, who perhaps destinated her to her geese in the village support in the old age. And what are the conditions for continuity for a girl only 5 years old, who is taken out of her brothers to see the suffering, aged in her days, aged in her years, and still wondering what are the conditions of the mission.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's really, but it's beautiful. It's
I hope they translated it well.
They did. They did incredible. And yeah, when you read that poem, and you think, even the Polish family, they put their lives at risk. They really did, in a way, because
they put their lives in risk, but it's also tragedy because they want to adopt a child.
But there could have been a neighbor who could have informed on them. They did put your story, and what happened to you is miracles upon miracles.
Yeah.
It really is.
That's right.
That the priest would say, "Bring me the baby."
Yeah, yeah.
There were many other priests that said,
"Yeah,
good riddance."
I think one of the miracles is that I was rescued through a confession of
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to come just to thank you, because I'm so incredibly grateful to you. So if I could just thank you. Well, if you could just thank you so much. If you could, so I don't know. I am so incredibly grateful to you, and I appreciate it. And I know it's just to hear your story and hear the miracles. There really are no words. There really aren't. And I'm so grateful to Shammai and to Yael for introducing. And
I wasn't prepared for that.
No, can I tell you, it's from your heart, and it is amazing. And I don't know, just whoever sees this, they will not be the same afterwards, because your story it's just not your story, but it's our history, and you are so positive, and you've taken life. It's such a trauma, but you've just like you said, you've turned the darkness to light and the bitter to sweet, and it's so appropriate.
I see that they...
Thank you so much, Leah. You should just have Mazla and Brocha at Mevesrim in good health and nachas, but it is beautiful. What you've done it's remarkable. It really is. Yeah, thank you so much.
Here you have this quoting.
Oh, you say if you could read it, I'll just be... Yeah, this is a very valuable book.
Okay, how do you call... It's not part of the poem, but it's the... forgot the name. You take a motto and it's a motto, and here is a poem.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So Tov. I saw them sitting. Rabbi Simon said, "He who has not the strength to change the dark into light and the bitter into sweet should not come study here, in the yeshiva of Eichal HaMashiach, the hall of the Messiah." Free translation from Aramaic, Introduction to the Zohar, Hasulam Publishers, 54. I saw them sitting tattooed at the opening of a black hole, at times drawn in and at times drawing great strength. I sat among them to serve them, weaving flowers, drawing up the pouring out from the pearls of their pain, practicing to be worthy to come.
That's amazing. Yeah, really, I'm so grateful to you, and you should just have nachas. And just to mention as well, your family, you know, so well known in Israel, and you come from such a distinguished.
Yeah, I came from a different,
No, but you know
totally different
you
place.
can be so proud, and I'm extremely grateful to you. And you should just have mazel and bracha, and ani nachas from your family, and Admei stream in good health.
Thank you. You too. I think you do something that is really amazing, especially now that I think I feel it now more because the survivors, you know, they are less and less,
So true.
and it's somehow important.
It's so valuable, and it's so precious. It really is so precious.
No, when you told me at the beginning that, you know, you have, I don't know, I never got into those things deeply.
And Leah, you give talks to different. You've given talks and presentations.
Yeah, I gave talks and I have, but I don't know. Lately, I try not. It's not that it's difficult for me, but I had some issues, health issues, that I had to. But I do it.
Well, you should just be well, and thank you so much, and all of Hashem's blessings.
תודה רבה, באמת תודה, and you, it's
Thank you.
amazing what you do.
Yeah, you're very kind, thank you.